All right. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the North Posey's February 14th regular meeting. And we'll open the meeting by joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I think we're going with this flag up here, it looks like. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mike, would you start us off with our vision, mission, and core beliefs?
The vision of North Posey School District is we inspire all students to achieve their potential for learning and life in a safe and supportive environment. Our mission is we partner with our community to create a dynamic and innovative educational experience, empowering students to become educated, productive, and responsible citizens. Our core beliefs, we believe our community is vital to our educational success. Everyone is valued and treated with respect, and always telling the truth and educational opportunity for all. Student-centered programs, challenging and inspiring learning, and pursuit of excellence through a strong sense of pride. Our high priorities are enhancing the student experience, investing in teachers and administrators, fostering strong relationships among all, and maximizing our resources.
Right. So as we mentioned, this is our Valentine's Day edition. So wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. We'll start off, our first item of the agenda is our patrons' concern, and we have several people signed up. I'll just remind everybody that we ask you to keep your comments within 3 minutes as possible, and we try, if you could, if everybody's talking about the same topic, we try to just not everybody just repeat the same thing one after the other. Peyton Straw, I believe, is first. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. So first, I want to thank you all for deciding to make mask optional. It's awesome. I know that you've been all of our children not wearing masks. I am concerned about our health department in Posey County, who time and time again has suggested we follow the science without any formal proof of what science they're following. Sure, we get updates on the death tolls and positivity rates weekly. What they don't tell us is how many of those positives were asymptomatic or very mild cases. They don't tell you that the hospitals are reimbursed a greater amount if they have a COVID positive individual on a ventilator than someone on a ventilator for another reason. Or someone may have had several comorbidities and just happened to also test positive for COVID prior to their death. A COVID death is reimbursed at a significantly higher rate as well, by the way. They don't tell people that as the virus mutates, it gets more infectious, but the symptoms become significantly more mild. They don't tell you these things because it doesn't fit their narrative. There is a pandemic, as a pandemic of fear propagated by health officials. These same health officials are the ones telling us we have to mask our kids in order for us to give them an education. Being the county health officer is not an elected position, by the way. The people do not get to decide who has this say in what their children are to do at school. The science that they follow is unfounded and has been manipulated to give them the results that best assist them at lining their pocketbooks. I'm concerned that we follow these recommendations and that an unelected official has the ability to force the hand of our school boards. I'm also concerned about the long-term problems associated with persistent mask wearing in school. We have seen an increase in speech therapy referrals during the last 2 years, for one thing. I know as well that I'm not alone when I tell you my children are extremely stressed at the end of the day when the masks are in place. My children have come home telling me they were yelled at by a teacher about how they were wearing a mask, not asked to adjust it, but yelled at. My girls are anxious without this added burden each day. My middle daughter has come home with a soaking wet mask at the end of the day because a 6-year-old cannot be expected to properly don a face mask for approximately 7 hours a day. Then they end up with face rashes and such from wearing them as well. I read and heard about children getting bacterial infections on the skin around their mouths from these masks that essentially only create the perfect breeding ground for bacteria, while also being unable to perform the job they're intended for. The holes in these cloth and surgical masks are so large that they do next to absolutely nothing to stop this virus, which is an aerosol from shooting out, around, and through one of these masks. The virus travels on a fine mist created when talking, eating, breathing, etc. So implementing these does no good. Social distancing doesn't really do much good, especially if you're in a place that the air is moving at all, given that the virus can float on dust particles in the air for up to 3 hours. So why do we give in to any of this? What's the end game? When I asked the health department, they told me they didn't know. This alone is concerning to me. It is also amazing how COVID manages apparently not attend sporting events, go to restaurants or social events in general, but it attends classes in our schools. Well, that must be the case, given that this is just about the only place where they are required, despite the fact that children do not have a significant risk for poor health outcomes associated with this viral infection. You can't make something make sense that isn't based in logic, though. We're creating mentally and emotionally stressed children when the masks are in place. We cannot continue to do this back and forth with the masks. The masks need to be gone permanently and never gone back to. And we parents are prepared to fight that all the way up the ladder to Governor Holcomb's office door. We have a big victory to celebrate that they are now optional in our schools, but we want to make sure that they don't ever come back. I'm also here to tell you all that if it is ever decided upon to re-implement them, that my family will not comply. We will not do it anymore. We are fed up with the pageantry and theater of the masks, and we won't play pretend anymore, not for anyone. We will present you with the petition signatures that we have obtained for your viewing, but we will be delivering these to the health department on the 23rd of this month. We want to make sure that they know how done with this that we actually are. Thank you.
Melissa Alexander.
I first wanted to address what the new quarantine policy is going to be. I have some issues. Sometimes this is just an arbitrary date that's just kind of pulled out of the air depending on when somebody goes and get a test. The CDC has already backtracked on, it's now 5 days quarantine, blah, 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 saying that most of the time, they're was it contagious before they even show symptoms. So we're just kind of picking an arbitrary date. So that's kind of putting children, I don't think I need to explain exactly. I think you guys can fill in those blanks of it doesn't make any sense that we're using that. The other concern about the quarantine is that I've heard some horror stories on children being basically ostracized. They're being placed in different areas of the classroom alone. They're not going to sit at their desk, next to the kids. They have to eat separately. They're being treated differently, and that's not okay. I think I've said that before at the very beginning of the school year. We do not treat kids differently. The second thing I have an issue with is that parents, grandparents, close friends, these people need to be able to come into the schools like we used to and have lunch with the kids. I think in some of the schools, there are some new tables that have been purchased. I think this is an issue that has been caused by the school, saying that there's not enough room for parents to come in. There's not very many parents that come in to lunch, maybe 5 parents at a time, per a lunch period. That really doesn't create a huge issue. I don't think the automatic answer should be no, I don't have room. I think it sends to me a red flag. You don't want parents walking down the hallways and seeing what's going on. We used to come into and go outside in the recess and play with their kids. Our kids are only young for so long, and you're stripping us of that valuable time with them. Like I said, I don't think that the answer should just be no. I think you should figure out how to make it work. The other thing I had mentioned to my kid, I can't come to lunch because there's not room. It was said to me, that's not true. There's always a table that's empty. That's a bad kid's table. That's where kids go and sit when they're in trouble and they have to eat by themselves. There was a kid there last week, she told me, that was crying all to himself. So I think there's some room there and we should be able to start coming in. And then I'll touch on the mask thing too. My kid, I wasn't on, I was just gonna kind of let go, but a couple weeks in January after wearing the mask, she was crying one night and saying she couldn't wear those masks anymore. Mom, why do I have to wear these masks? So, why are we doing this to our kids? Thank you.
And I apologize, but there's some of them here that do not have addresses. We have to put those down because we do a test for if they're actually citizens of the county and not just from there. So, Aaron Wilson. I know you, and I know you live here, but I need to get your address.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I had like a brain fart and couldn't remember my address.
Well, I couldn't.
It's West
tell you off the top of
Fletchall,
my head. I know it's
10
Fletchall.
West Fletchall, I think. 10 West
It's
Fletchall,
probably
my
close enough.
address. I live right across the street. I just want to say that I don't envy any of you sitting here in front of us tonight, and I want to thank you for not making the mask mandatory for a lot of the school year this year. I've got a 7-year-old little girl and a 9-year-old little girl, and their entire school life has basically been than masks and craziness. And I feel sorry for them, you know, and I feel sorry for all of you because, you know, one of the things that we had going on in the county is that our county health department director, Denny Schaefer, was sick. And, you know, there was a lot of turmoil within the health department. And because of that, I think there was some miscommunications that happened and things over the last year and a half. But, you know, what I would like to see personally is no matter what happens with these numbers going forward, that you just make the masks optional. I mean, if you look at the data, you know, the kids have about as much chance of getting struck by lightning as they do of dying from COVID. So that's what I am here to say, and I hope that that will not fall on deaf ears. You know, if some parents want to send their kids to school because they're afraid of it, then by all means, that's their choice. You know, and my wife may tell me our girls are still wearing masks. I don't know, you know, but I know this. I don't think that in this country we should be forced to do anything. And the pandemic is over. So I would just ask that no matter what happens going forward, I appreciate, you know, this morning I got up and took a video of my daughters. I told them they didn't have to wear masks anymore. They both cheered, you know, and that, I think that says a lot for how our kids feel about it. And we're doing, whether we want to admit it or not, we're doing psychological damage to these children. So, and that's not your fault. That's not anyone's fault, really. We had this craziness that was thrust upon our whole society, and everyone had to make decisions that were tough, you know, at the county level and the school levels. So I'm definitely not upset with any decisions you guys have made, and I really appreciate again that for the majority of this year, the masks haven't been mandatory. But one more time, I'm just going to say, if and when the numbers would go up again, I would hope that you guys would take it upon yourselves to say, you know, they're optional no matter what. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Kelsey.
Oh, I'm not speaking, sorry. I thought that was the sign-in sheet, like, for
Oh,
everyone.
okay.
Yeah, sorry. I was just being a good person.
No, you're fine.
I'm here.
I actually, the same thing. I just thought I was supposed to sign
Be
my
careful what
name.
you sign up for. You might give out
Was I supposed to bring the cups and the drinks?
Casey Weininger, am I saying that right? Yes. And can I get your address, Casey?
2355 Farmersville Road, Mount Vernon.
Okay.
I got a couple different issues. First one being, we got these kids going through sports fighting their whole life, practicing all week long, and we got no video of them. Mount Vernon just won a game on the last second shot, and there ain't no video of it hardly. You know, kids are going to state, they're working their entire lives. My daughter's 8, she's practicing 5 times a week. And they get to high school and you're paying $5 per person to get in. You're paying $5 for each one of your kids to get in. You got to record the whole thing yourself, post it, edit it, all that. As a school corporation, I feel we can do that. Mask. You guys have totally, at North Posey, you guys have been awesome. Like in Mount Vernon, though, they have screwed this up to no end. You have violated the 14th Amendment on several levels. It says, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges of the citizens of the United States. No state shall deprive, strict was another word, any person of life, liberty, property, without due process of the law. You have definitely did that. And it's not just you guys. You know, I'm frustrated with our health department, how they have signed up this doctor to rule over us and Dr. Rapp and take heed, you know, and make decisions for all of us, you know, and it's not right. The definition of liberty states the state of being free of a society from oppression, restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. Well, you infringed on that. Like Aaron said, the death rate is so low from this, there is no way possible. Like, my daughter had it, she was better the next day. She got it though. And they weren't having masks at the school at the basketball games, and she would end up sick 2 days later. Do I care? No, because it's a virus that we're going to have to fight. We're not going to live in fear and sit back and be like, government, just rule us. This is your show. We'll do whatever you say. That's tyrannical behavior. We did not rule for the CDC. We did not vote for Dr. Rapp and the health department to say when our kids have to wear masks. It is creating a total hypocrisy when you're saying you got to wear a mask here, but you don't here. You know, listen to your parents here, but listen to us here. My final point. Whoever thought it was okay for teachers to say that students should get vaccinated? Who? Who has that authority to tell our students that you should get vaccinated, that it's safe? No one has that right. And as school board members, you should be appalled that your teachers are pushing this on students when there's no science behind the vaccine even working. You guys have seen the explosive numbers since November when the health department rolls the clown show, as I call it, down into Mount Vernon and starts jabbing kids. That's when I get a problem, because I coach these kids and I care about these kids. I deal with them 5 days a week in their face. They're not getting sick. Nobody is. It's a scandemic. It's not even a pandemic. They killed all these people in nursing homes in New York. 45%, I think it was like 45% of the deaths were in New York nursing homes. Or not just New York, but in 5 states, Democratic ran states nursing homes. This is not a real pandemic like they're making it. We did not have the explosive numbers until the vaccine came around. I don't know, but I know what I see and I know what the numbers show. I know that there wasn't 2,000 people sick this time last year. So I don't know, I don't know what's going on here, but the New York court ruled that masks are against the Constitution. But, they still went around that and they appealed it to appellate court. And now the appellate court's upheld the ruling for now. So they're still using it, but we all know it's unconstitutional. We know we got a right to breathe air freely. That is the one essential part to heal our human body. That's all I got to say.
Chastity Davis.
I'll say something, but I thought it was a sign-in too. So Nick Davis on there probably will not speak. So my daughter, she's 7, loves school, and I have contemplated on taking her out several times because of the masks. It's got her in trouble, as she puts it, and I'm not there. I don't know that she's getting in trouble, but to a 7-year-old, constantly being talked to about it every single day, she feels like she's getting in trouble. She's coming home. She is terrified of certain things that, sometimes have to do with the mask. Sometimes it doesn't have to do with the mask. It's different levels of it. So, and I've tried to talk to her, you should be more scared of your mama than anybody else. But, it's a hard topic we've had to try to overcome. My daughter gets worse with her asthma when she's wearing a mask than when she's not wearing a mask. And that scares me because before the masks ever, I'm talking 2019 and since she was born in 2014, we've not had higher issues with her asthma since the masks. Now, she's missed more school, I think, this year than she did the start of when she started last year in kindergarten, and we were homeschooling about 4 months into it. And then, like I said, I've thought about homeschooling her again because of this. The other problem I have is, I don't know if it's you guys. I don't know if it's just because you're following the health department, but because my daughter has asthma and it's not progressed enough for an inhaler, she cannot bring her nebulizer to school. So she had to miss more days of school because she cannot bring her nebulizer because there's not a negative pressure room at school for her to do the breathing treatments. When, I was told it creates droplets in the air that spreads COVID. Well, she doesn't have COVID, she's got asthma. And a sneeze and a cough and a spit and kids blowing raspberries and everything else can cause COVID too, if that's the
Guys and gals and the administration, because they have put themselves on the line a lot to make sure your kids and our kids have had as normal of a possible education as they could have in these circumstances. And you should be thanking them, because you could go to different school systems in this area And that hasn't been the case. And, you know, I'm proud of what we've done. I'm proud of what they have done, because they're doing it every day. It's not perfect, and we're all passionate about what we feel. But we've worked together and we've got to this point. Hopefully we can continue on in the best situation for the kids. I think Mike had talked to some of you, but you know, your fight is with the health department and with the state. It's not with the MSD of North Posey. We fight back as much as we possibly can. But our hands are tied to some degree, because, you know, we can't go against everything and cause.
The school board can
Further
sue the health
damage.
department.
Pardon?
The school board can sue the health department. You guys can sue the health department and tell screw them.
Well, that may be
You
true.
can't. No, that's
We
true.
haven't been informed of that yet. We've tried as much as we can.
But that's the thing about the 14th Amendment. When they infringe on that and they are telling you guys, that's when you say, no mas, no.
And that's fair. But I'm just telling you what we've done. The ultimate fight is with the health department and
Do
with
you
the
know the
state.
Hippocratic Oath that doctors swear to? They swear allegiance to Apollo. They don't swear to Jesus Christ like most of us. They swear it to
We're getting a
Apollo.
little, hold on. We're getting a little off topic, and that's okay. We're all passionate. I just wanted you to hear, we are on your side. And I know you may not think about it all the time, but we really truly are. And we'll continue to fight that way. And if you have any other things, questions, comments, you know, Mike and Michelle both, their doors are always open. Feel free to come in there anytime you want, have this discussion. They'll try to work out everything they can for the best interest of the kids. And we all feel strongly about that. All right, next item on the agenda is the minutes, claim docket, and consent items. We'll entertain a motion to approve these as presented and listed.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mrs. Will, seconded by Mr. Schmidt. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. I would like to take a moment. We generally recognize that in our minutes or claim dockets, but we had a former guidance counselor that many of us knew, we went to school with while she was serving the school. Mrs. Iris Reynolds passed away. We just take a moment and just remember her and send condolences out to her family. Any other comments regarding her? All right. Don't know, how long was she, do we have a number of years she was with the school?
I don't know.
I know she was there when my dad was there and when I went to school. I didn't know how long she went. Was she still there when you were there?
She was there.
No?
No.
I don't remember who we're talking about.
So we're going back a little bit
You're
further.
going back, yeah.
There we go. That's all right. All right, new business.
So this evening, Mr. President, we bring forward a recommendation from Mrs. Kester, Mrs. McMunn, and Mrs. Walden for consideration of moving to a full-day preschool, pre-kindergarten program. As you know, we've had a half-day program probably for the past,
Longer than we've.
well, than you
Yeah.
guys, so.
Probably 6 to 8 years, isn't it?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we've heard from parents is that some of our local areas, preschools that are full day, it's difficult once they enroll them there to then move them into our program. And so we feel like that this is an opportunity for us to step forward and offer this full day program. Also, we're seeing that there's not many choices for parents anymore in the area for daycare or preschool. So this is another opportunity for us to step forward. But for lack of better words, I'm going to shut up now and let the ladies talk because they really did all the work on it. So anyway, so ladies.
We don't have anything formal. Where do you want us to go?
Anywhere.
No, we started looking at this.
Set behind me.
Oh, sorry. We started looking at this a couple of years ago for several options. One, because we believe getting kids in school is good. Also because our area we were hearing from parents, they were having trouble with childcare. And with this, we are still allowing the half-day option because we did hear that some parents did not want it. So we're keeping the half-day option for those that it doesn't fit. But we have researched some costs and think we have comparable prices to offer for families.
So we're gonna continue to offer preschool and pre-K, both options, full day. Due to capacity though, the preschool option will be at North Elementary, because the South Terrace, they have a developmental delay preschool that is also necessary. So just because of, space. So for our preschool program, both programs will cost the same. It'll be 5 days for the full day. $395 is the cost per month, which is comparable to other programs in our area. The half day would then be $200 per month. The majority of the academics will occur in the morning. That way the kiddos that are here only for the half day do not miss anything. The afternoon would involve enrichment. They would have, different breaks built in that they don't currently have because right now they're only here for 3 hours, which don't require the number of breaks that they'll need for 7.5. Those little ones aren't going to tolerate that. So the kiddos would eat lunch here at school. They're gonna do that in their classrooms. What else is
We
there?
have worked out, we've talked to Live here.
Mhm,
They
yes.
will also provide, they do in other school buildings, before and after school care for those parents that need to drop off early or pick up later. They will include the preschool kiddos in that.
Mhm.
So,
That's a separate cost, just like it is for school-aged kids.
great. So I would still have pre-K, and North would have preschool and pre-K. So, any questions?
What do we currently have right now?
Currently, we both have 2 half-day, we have,
Preschool,
And
and we each
pre-K.
have a preschool half-day and a pre-K half-day.
but it is not
You have
5
two,
days.
you mean one at each school, not morning and afternoon, or?
Right.
But our preschool program in both buildings is only a 2-day program, half-day, and our pre-K is 3 days.
So this would be 5 days.
This will be 5 days, all day.
What, we're going to need to hire another teacher?
Yes. It will require 1 teacher just at North Elementary.
Where in your buildings, do you know where at this point you're gonna
Yeah,
fit
we
this
don't have a
in?
whole lot of options.
That's kind of what I
It's
thought.
We're pretty limited, yeah. We will keep preschool or pre-K, whichever one, in the same spot that it's in now. And then we would have our second in an empty classroom that's in the 3-4 hallway. Ideally, it would also be in the kindergarten hall here, but if I've got 3 classrooms, then for kindergarten.
I noticed in part of our board packet, it says this is a play-based model that we're using as far as curriculum goes. Is that similar to what they're doing now, or?
No, well, the Frog Street curriculum, it does have play in it, but it is very academic at the same time. It's not.
So that model, when we're kind of adding that, we're looking at kind of the time of day that you're spending on academic activities versus also play, free play, and those kind of things. So you can kind of see that in that schedule that they've built in. And that's where that research that we wanted to bring in, because when you talk about half day versus full day, is it good for children? Will we see the academic benefit, but also what's that long-term effect if you start to put kids into academic long day?
And that's
So-
where my concern was, is that it was
Yeah.
overly academic. So.
Right.
No.
So that's
No.
where you add in lots of that play time. And then even in your activities and your academics, there's hands-on and things.
Any other questions?
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we go with the program that Mrs. Kester, Mrs. McNutt, and Mrs. Walden have proposed.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Conley and seconded by Mr. Oakley. Any comments or questions?
I just know from being several years ago as a substitute that got in kindergarten classes, sometimes the kids that had been in preschool, it's night and day the difference instead of starting out.
We would have had a program like this when my kids were little, because I know I took them out of district, right, to get them into places to work with my schedule, so.
Well, and that's one thing that we're finding and that we want to remedy by offering the program.
And parents will still have the choice to do the half if they prefer.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same
In
sign.
the classrooms.
The motion carries 5-0.
Next up this evening, we have a recommendation from Mr. Fisher to consider the proposal to permit North Posey High School sponsored IHSAA sport, cheerleading, dance, guard, and marching band activities to replace the physical education credit. This is something that's pretty common amongst several other school districts in the area. One of the things that is definitely a benefit to our students is that it helps them to participate in some of these extracurricular activities. I know Vince and I were talking about this afternoon, that like an incoming freshman is required to take a freshman PE class. If they were playing a sport, that sport would count as their PE credit, then allowing them to participate in some other activity or take another class that, may be more in line with where they're going to head. There's been, cons of this. I know when we looked at this in the past and stuff, lots of times people are concerned about, well, is this going to eliminate a PE teacher or something like that? We don't really see that happening. As we've kind of looked at the numbers and stuff, we really feel like that, it's just going to allow our kids to really have more opportunities than anything else. The other thing too, that I think Sean really feels very positive about is that we're trying to grow our band and our choir programs back up. And like I said, we feel like that this is going to allow those kids maybe be an added incentive, especially for band and guard and dance, to get involved in those. So the other thing I also talked about too with Vince today is I had a student when I was principal at Fort Branch, 4.0 student, just did not like PE. She was involved in band, but she just wasn't a physical education person. And ended up, she had to take PE, took PE, ended up getting a C in the class because she just didn't enjoy doing it. And so, this is kind of one of those opportunities that kids can have that they can get the credit through, fulfilling it through some other types of opportunities. So you want to say?
I'll just add that this was a waiver initiated by the Department of Education in 2013 that we just have not taken advantage of. Many schools across the state do. So this isn't something new that we kind of thought up. This is something the department said, we have a lot of students that are participating in sports that fulfill the standards of the physical education requirement for our 440 diploma. There are a lot of classes that our students want to take, especially as we look at career technical classes. Their schedules start to get filled up. And so this is a way to give them some opportunities to choose some different classes when they're already fulfilling those standards in the physical education in other ways.
I think this is a proposal that definitely seems to have a lot of merit to it. We have a really full school board packet tonight, and I would love to see this explored further in some discussion. Do have some concerns with consistency, making sure we can meet that for all of our students. I'd like to make a motion to table this for tonight.
I will second that. I as the lifelong PE teacher, I do have problems with it.
So I have a motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Colley to table. Comments or questions? I'll just piggyback there. That was the first thing I thought of reading this, is just to make sure consistency. You'd hate to see a basketball player not have to do some additional work in reading through this, because it makes comments regarding meeting standards. And, you'd hate to see like a basketball players not have to do it, but a golf person have to do extra work. That kind of treatment tends to get us in trouble. And if we could avoid that, that'd be helpful. And I'd just like to hear some more information on what those standards are and how it would be kind of I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but levied across all the activities that we're allowing a waiver for. And I assume if a kid still wanted to take PE, they could, even though they were in these classes, or in these activities. All right, any other comments or questions? All right, so I'll repeat, we have a motion to table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion's tabled, assuming that we're not gonna get ourselves in trouble by tabling it.
No, you're good. You're good.
Next up, I'm gonna have Mrs. Walden talk a little bit about an alternative education option for 2022-2023 school year.
Yeah, so Mr. Kavanaugh, Mr. Fisher, and I have discussed some just various needs of some of our students. And really tonight, what we're bringing to you, I brought you a little bit of details about alternative education. Ending, what we're asking for tonight really is just kind of that blessing and opportunity to say, hey, we can go study this. So we don't have a proposal per se to start a alternative program for the fall. We're looking for that approval to go and do a deep dive of our data, look to see, and we'll build a comprehensive needs assessment for you, and then build out that, if the needs assessment highlights a need, then build out that application. It's pretty extensive. I linked the application for you in your board packet so you could see it. But we would have to go through and talk about what the rooms would look like, what the curriculum would look like, the timing would look like, and so that would be all in that proposal that we would bring back to you. But like I said, tonight we're looking for just kind of that approval to say, yes, we have interest and are interested in studying that, to go look at that further.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the study of an alternative education option for the next school year.
Second.
I'll second that.
So a motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve continued studying for a alternative education option. Pardon?
I apologize, that's why I think, could you give a brief description of what they see, what that actually entails? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, so alternative education can look like many different things. And so this proposal is really just to study what would be best and what our students need. So there really is not a preconceived notion yet of what this would be. That's what the study will.
So you're just looking at what would match your schools.
Is this something quite common in schools, or is it?
Say that again.
Is this common in schools?
Yes, a lot of high schools will have some sort of alternative education option, whether that be a half-day program, a full-day program. Typically, this is going to cater to students that you can do maybe some in lieu of. If you have discipline situations, maybe you have a situation where it's not appropriate for them to continue in the traditional setting, but we still want to educate, make sure that they're able to access education. And that's best done with a teacher in the room and them on site. And so there's opportunities for that. And that's usually where people kind of lend to, is they think that it's that discipline, but we're also really wanting to look at the types of students that maybe are struggling in just the traditional classroom environment, that just need something a little bit smaller, a little bit different, and trying to make sure that, I know we don't have a huge dropout rate, but even one should be considered huge, right? That we are making sure we have what maybe students need in learning in a little bit different way.
The goal of this is to get those kids to graduate, get them that diploma. And sometimes different kids have a different, track that they're going to go on.
We felt like it matched that high priority of enhancing the student experience. I know that's a bit different from some of our goals and some of the other, but making sure that every student's experience really is matching those core values.
And this would start at the junior high level or good at, okay.
Yeah.
All right, So we have a motion and a second to allow the continuing investigation into this and study. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next up this evening for your consideration is two options of the North Posey High School Athletic Handbook submitted by Mr. Fisher. I believe you got that information. Mr. Fisher is recommending that we stay with option one, which is mainly retaining the language that requires student athletes to take the strength and conditioning course after their freshman PE requirements are met. That is something that they've been doing for, I guess, the past 4 years, maybe 3 or 4 years. So it's just kind of a way for, once again, the board to say, yeah, this is the direction we want to go in and stuff. So there's also that option 2 on there as well.
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we go with Mr. Fisher's recommendation to retain the option 1 language in the student athlete handbook.
Second?
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve retaining the current language as stated in our athletic handbook. Any comments or questions? And I will say, the impetus is to help prevent injuries and making sure that our varsity athletes that we're going to compete at the varsity level were truly conditioned and their bodies ready to compete at the varsity level. And hopefully that continues. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Yep, you're taking this one.
It's conflict of interest,
Next we have for consideration recommendation to allow club swimming to continue as currently operating at North Posey High School. Swimmers would provide their own equipment, transportation, coaching, combined with assistance from the North Posey High School Athletic Department to provide IHSAA AA compliance and scheduling assistance to compete in swimming.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for consideration of the recommendation to allow swimming to continue as operated currently.
Second.
I'll second it.
Sorry, Greg, I'm giving it the letter. Good.
Fight for it.
We have a motion by Mrs. Will, seconded by Mr. Colley to approve the request to continue to allow swimming to be a club sport at North Posey. And IHSAA compliance. Any comments or questions?
Is this something that'll be revisited a year from now then, again?
So what this is mainly doing is we had a pilot program this year. Mainly what we're now doing is you're going to kind of endorse it to say, yes, we're going to endorse this as a sport. At this point in time, I'm not putting any money in the contract because that would have to be negotiated and stuff. But we really want to see, do we have enough students that are interested to really bring forward this program and stuff. And but a lot of the PAC schools have swimming, and not all of them have pools, so understand that aspect of it. You don't have to have a pool to have swimming.
So for clarification, even though it's a club criteria, whatever,
Right.
classified sport,
Right.
they still are competing in the PAC.
Correct.
I know there's all PAC points that are kept. We still score those.
Right.
I wouldn't foresee us being, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the concern, if we didn't approve it as a board approved club or sport, however you want to name that, is that if we get more than 4 in boys or girls, that becomes a team in IHSAA rules. And so if it's not a board approved, then we might have to say we can't do that. So that was kind of that, this year we didn't we had one. And so there are a few eighth graders that are interested. There has been some emails of interest in upperclassmen. And so we didn't want to get too far down this before it was board approved.
What difference does club approval mean between team and individuals? I mean, it shouldn't make any difference if it's club approved. Whether we've got 15 kids doing it or if we've got one kid doing it, should it?
I think it just depends, and
IHSA
I'm not as well
doesn't
versed in
care about
IHSA
that.
rules, to tell you what happens when we get 4, and that means we're a team, and then what that means, I don't know that information. I know
would
that it does
suspect to
depend.
compete as a team in a sectional event. Now, are they allowed to participate as individual tournaments this year?
Right now, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
If you can't, you wouldn't be able to compete in a relay with one person,
Correct.
stuff like that. I just don't see that as far as a club vote, it makes any difference. Before we go to it being a full-fledged sport, we will revisit it and we have to re-vote on it, right?
Yeah, I would just want it. I mean, we've never had a situation like this to where it's been a high school level club sport. It's always been at the junior high or below. And I would be concerned about their criteria for IHSA qualifications, to make sure that we don't do something then that prevents them from competing.
Right.
So I would agree with you in that regard, but the IHSA may say, hey, no, that approval is only good for 1 year. Whatever they say is we would want to be compliant with.
I don't think they have a problem with that, at least unless it's changed in the last 10 years or so. I think that's.
But I'm like you, if we approve it as a club sport, then it's kind of granted to be a club sport going forward until another action is
Even though
taken.
part of that approval says obeying IHSAA rules.
Yeah. I would agree. Any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Just do not let the rumor get out, we are not building a pool right now.
Well, that's the next, no.
So next up this evening, I bring forward a consideration to move to Under Armour BSN agreement for team apparel and spirit wear. As you know, we've been with Pearson's for a very long time. We've had a great relationship with them, but their representative who handles the sports line is retiring this year. And actually, we're the only customer that he has on the sports apparel. So Jay called Waylon and said, if it's okay with you guys, we're going to drop the sports apparel. I think Waylon emailed to you guys what he had gone through and stuff. So he's bringing forward tonight the recommendation to go with Under Armour, which I will tell you that my freshman son fully supports Under Armour. So
Jed's endorsement.
I think you have Jed's endorsement tonight. So when I told him about it, he goes, "Thank God." So.
Is this a local, is there a local business that we're going through like we went
Yeah,
through years before? Is there a local?
It's not a local business. It'll be our BSN rep is who's going to be handling it.
And
So
that'd be like out of Indy or something like that. It's not an actual storefront, Evansville.
no, not a storefront. Yeah, but I think our rep's in Evansville, so I don't think it's an Indy rep.
I think it's reiterated, it's worth noting that our thanks to Pearson's for bringing kind of
Yes.
this thought process forward that they did several years ago to get us into this.
We would have never left them.
No,
I mean, they're a community partner, a great community partner, but just they just said they're not making any money out of it, so they're moving on.
I entertain a motion. Jed doesn't count, by the way.
That's fine. That's fine. Just wanted to throw that in there.
All right.
I make a motion, we go to the Under Armour BSN agreement for team apparel and spirit wear.
Second.
I'll second.
So a motion by Mr. Colley, seconded by Mrs. Will to approve the switch to Under Armour and that BSN agreement. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right, next we will have the consideration for the use of school buses by nonprofit organizations. This outlines procedures for allowing outside organizations to request school transportation for their needs. We saw this as a first read last month. I did not make any changes due to the discussion, and so bringing it for approval tonight.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the use of school buses by nonprofit organizations policy.
Second.
I'll second that.
There's a motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the use of the school bus by nonprofits. Any comments or questions?
I would just say this is a great opportunity for us to once again be partners with our community. Lots of times we have some great organizations in our community that just cannot provide transportation, and this is a way for us to do that. Special Olympics is an outstanding example of that, and so this is a great way for us to allow our taxpayers' buses to be used for nonprofit organizations.
Can I say thank you, because my aunt runs the Special Olympics, and my cousin has Asperger's, so thank you
Well,
for that.
we allow all kinds of thank yous.
Don't hold back.
Yeah, we actually encourage those from time to time.
Well,
No, but thank you for.
we're not here to
pointing
know thank you.
So for clarification, the proof of financial responsibility covers, then providing proof of insurance coverage, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yes,
I thought
the Indiana code kind of goes through the details of that, but yes.
Okay, just to make sure. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for work on that.
You're
Good job.
Next up this evening, we have the bids for the North Posey High School chiller replacement project. The sealed bids were open in the board office on Wednesday, February the 2nd, 2022 at 1:00 p.m. Bids were received from 4 bidders, Custom Mechanical, Dyke Brothers, Harold Fish Incorporated, and DeBraw Kemple. The Stefano Group submitted the bid summary sheet and their recommendation for the board to review. What I'm recommending this evening is that you accept the lowest bidder, which is Harold Fish Incorporated, as recommended by the Stefano Group. This is a Quantech chiller. Danny was also involved on this when we spoke to Tim from Stefano, just to ask him kind of what kind of unit was this. It is a Quantech, I guess, bought out York. So it's kind of a York unit is what it is. This will replace the York unit at the high school. So it's the big unit. It's going to have a much smaller footprint on it. The other nice thing about going with this one is that I believe the train actually we were going to have to take out the back wall or fenced in gated area, whatever it was, in order to allow that to get in there. So this does not mess with any of that. It fits in the area that we currently have. This is also under budget. We were looking at $319,000. So this is definitely going to be under budget for us. So it's a good thing. And this is also being purchased with that ESSER 3 funds. So we're using that for one-time expenses. And we're able to use those funds to improve the air quality in schools. And so that's what we're using this for, which is saving us money in our operations fund. So yeah. So that is the recommendation I'm bringing forward tonight, Mr. President.
Just for clarity, we are not required to take the low bidder. That's just the recommendation.
Correct. You are not required to take the low bidder.
And this was not only your recommendation, but advisement from the Stefano Group as well.
Yep.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation of HFI to purchase and install a chiller.
Second.
I'll second it.
A motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Colley to approve the chiller replacement recommendation. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next up this evening is we received sealed bids at the Metropolitan School District of North Posey Superintendent's Office on Wednesday, February the 9th at 4:00 p.m. for the lawn care of school facilities. If you remember correctly, last year we started this process and we had 1 bid. This year we had 5 bids. So we were excited that people are aware that we are going out and asking for competitive bids to be as transparent as we possibly can. So this evening, as you saw the costs break down there pretty well. We have been using a cut above that they were not the cheapest, but they were about just $30 off. Considering the work that they did this past year, it was quality work. Our facilities look really good. My recommendation would be to stay with them, a cut above landscape. The other thing that we added this year was alternates 1, 2, and 3. This would be the board's decision of what they would like to do here. Alternate 1 is dealing with lawn treatments. And this is more or less just to kill dandelions, those kinds of things. And Eric is here tonight. Eric, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about alternate 1, 2, and 3 that's in your proposal and what exactly you guys would be doing.
Yeah, I think alternate 1, we looked at it on doing like 3 applications of fertilizer, which would be roughly about 400 pounds per acre. And I think we're going to be looking at on that, it was 5 acres worth, which would be the central office, the side of this building, front of this building, the main, all the stuff in front of the high school, and the entrances going to the high school, nothing in the back, and then south terrace to the front as well, which was like a total of 5 acres. So application, and during that we would be looking at about we had to figure about 2,000 pounds of fertilizer we were going to put down in this fall over that 5 acres. And then there'll be a preventative weed killer herbicide in the spring, and we'd follow that up with 2 more rounds throughout the year just to keep the dandelions and weeds down. So basically you would have 6 applications total.
Alternate 2 there is just doing what Eric just described, adding in the fences as well. Alternate 3 would be doing, once again, what Eric said, spraying the fences, and then also doing some power seeding where we're putting down some grass seed. And that was just almost 5 acres, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the alternate 2 with the fence would be basically any fence. There's a lot of Roundup spray to go around these fences, and I think that some of these schools are doing a very good job at it. Some locations, and other locations maybe not so much so. You can go through a lot of weed eater string and a lot more time. And it just the problem we got into, that we saw last year that maybe we weren't supposed to have anything to do with around the softball field or a baseball field, and the weeds grew up, and then it kind of looks bad toward us. And we're doing a job, and we want to make the facilities look nice. So if those weeds are out here and it's not our job to take care of it, it makes us look bad. So we went to Mr. Galvin and asked, for a alternative to do that. And so that's what the number 2 would be. Basically, all that would take care of all the spraying, fences and everything, as well as the fertilizer.
Did you spray last year? Did you spray last year?
We did not spray last year, and that was, I had a few comments, sitting at a softball game or something. Someone was like, "You gonna mow this?" Well, we just did 2 hours ago. And, the dandelions are already back up. So the weeds are really an issue. I think in making the facility look nicer in the front. I mean, you're not going to go spray 30 acres or 40 acres. I understand that, but just the first thing you see when you pull up, it would be nice to have a little more eye appeal there. Pulling up.
I mean, we spend a lot of money in the townhouse, especially out here, for that visualization straight into the school. Like it or not, that's what people see when they come as visitors to our school. As Eric said, eye appeal, and one student decides to come here, pays for it, ultimate free, for doing that. So typically we wouldn't like to spend this much time on lawn care. We're gonna be here till 8 o'clock anyway tonight, might as well talk about it. So if I understand this right, because it's clear as mud, alternate 3, so we're not paying for alternate 1 plus alternate 2 plus alternate 3. Alternate 3 captures everything we want to do.
Yep.
Correct?
Well, we got the long bid up there, then also.
Right, on top of the
and then
base bid.
It's on top, yeah, so.
Yeah, so it'd be 6,500 plus the 1,320.
How's it going? I didn't.
6,500 a year.
But that's for everything, or?
6,500 is for the whole year.
Yeah, so your first one was what, like three grand for the, I think we put down for the lawn treatment itself, and then we had like another 1,500 for the spraying of all the fences throughout the year, keeping that. And then you would add another if you wanted to go in here and seed that 5 acres. That's basically grass seed that we're gonna
So it's 6,500 to do all that plus the 1,320.
Yeah,
Per mowing.
Per mowing, 1,320 per mowing.
Okay.
But the other stuff is only done once a year, right?
I'm sorry.
Or-
So
well,
yeah,
that's
the
fine,
bid,
yes.
yes, because you're looking at you're looking at on a monthly, on the third.
Well, the spraying would be done.
Spraying
would have to be done possibly more than once or not. The spraying?
The spraying the fences?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably 3 or 4 times a year we have to go through there and do that.
And that's the
I don't-
tennis courts, the
That's everything.
baseball, that's everything, right?
That's everything, so basically.
When somebody complains, I say go see it.
And if somebody would complain, you would point to, yes,
Can we, I mean, I'm not saying we gotta do this now, but is there a way that maybe you could do this for a 24-month period rather than do this every year? But
Yeah, actually, the contract is set up to where you do not have to go back next year and do this.
Okay.
You can do a 2-year contract.
All right. Entertain a motion
If you want to make the motion that way, you can do that.
for 2 years? I can't make a motion, so you're speaking to the choir.
So you have to make the motion that way, or the contract is already written that way? So
If you want to do it
it's
for
already written.
2 years, you have to make a motion for it to be 2 years because
The
that's.
way it's
not
written in the
it's-
contract is the board can automatically say that we want another year. That's the way it's in the contract. If you want to just go ahead and make it a 2-year contract, you can do that.
And that would be at these prices, not,
Correct.
they're okay with that.
Right? Look at that.
You okay with that? If we did a 2-year contract and voted those prices? In fact, I think those are the same prices we had last year from them, if I remember right.
on that, you talking about on our.
Yeah, on the base bid.
No, actually, we're lower. We're lower this year.
Well, I make a motion that we, accept the bid from Cut Above Landscape and do the base bid plus alternate 1, 2, and 3, or alternate 3, I guess it's just alternate
It's
3.
just alternate.
You don't do 1 and 2, you just do alternate 3.
Right.
Right, yes. And I include, let's do it for 2 years.
Second.
I'll second it.
So a motion by Mr. Colley, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve a Cut Above Landscape Solutions as presented by and recommended by Mr. Galvin for the base bid and the alternate 3 for 24 months. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, I want to thank all the other companies too that put in the bid, so very proud.
Yeah, I don't think we didn't have a lot of interest the last time. It kind of went out quickly, but. All right, personnel.
Personnel, I am very excited this evening to welcome back home one of our very own, who graduated from North Posey. This evening, I am excited to recommend Mrs. Elise Murray. Weather Host is what everybody remembers her by. So for the Director of Special Education, as you guys are aware, we are dissolving the Special Education Cooperative and going out on our own. So Ms. Murray will assume leadership of our special education program if the board so chooses tonight. She will have a 240-day contract at the cost of $80,000 and would be eligible for any applicable compensation raise and or stipend given to administrative team in 2022 and 2023. She will also receive the district level administrative benefit package too. So, Elise, you want to stand up and wave at the people as well as say a little bit about yourself? So.
Hi, I'm Elise Murray. This is my 13th year as an educator, and I'm currently a special education coordinator with EDSC. So I'm super excited to be back from Boise. And he said I graduated from North Boise, so I'm super excited to be here.
So Elise actually took my administrative principles class when I was teaching at USI. So Shannon was working on her, I believe, when this all started. I think Vince was also working on her, but I'm just gonna say it took me.
I knew you were there.
It took me making a phone call and saying, Elise, I'd like for you to come interview. And so anyway, I'm very excited to bring her forward for a recommendation tonight, and excited to have her come on board with our administrative team. So.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Galvin's recommendation.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Will to approve Elise Murray as our Director of Special Education. Did I say it again? Sorry.
I know.
Want to redo it?
No.
To be our Special Education Director. And I will, Mike came up to me the other night, he was like, you know Elise Murray? And I was like, I just kind of looked at him with a blank face, he goes, Weatherholt, and I go, yes, I do. So.
Elise, you want to introduce who you have here with you this evening?
I'm mom, Susan, my sister Anna, and my niece Natalie.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for joining us. All right, so we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Congratulations. Welcome. Welcome aboard.
So underneath reports this evening, just want to kind of make the board aware, we did our ADM in February. We had our second count day and we were at 17.24, so it was a drop of about 4 kids, which is not bad at all. I think the majority of the state always experiences a drop in the second semester. So I don't know where those kids go to, they just disappear or something, but we were happy that that was all that we experienced. And I think probably in the end, funding wise, we're gonna break even because they went back and they fully funded those kids who were virtual back at that first count, if you remember that. So that
was our first count?
Our first count was 1421.
So now we're at 14-17?
Yeah, we're at 14-17. So anyway, so we were good there. Those were good numbers, and I'm going to skip down and have Michelle talk about her student transfer report as well. We received that from the Department of Education, and she kind of broke that down for you guys.
So there's a lot of data in there, and if you want to look at it, take time. I wanted you to make sure you had access to all the data you wanted to look at, but I'll kind of just give you a kind of brief overview. So annually, the Department of Education will publicly produce this transfer report for us, which is really good information for us to see. Kind of one, I think the first piece of data there is that our district is growing. From February 21 to September of 21, we went from 1,416 students that lived within our district boundaries to 1,470. I know 4 of them are my children, but no, our district is growing in school-aged children. So that's really a good sign, and helps us kind of make some of those key decisions. And one thing you'll note there is that from February to September, we actually decreased in the percentage of students that we are attracting of that group. So while that number grew in our county, we are only getting 87.3% of those students within our boundaries coming to our schools, whereas in February of last year, we had 88.6. Okay,
So when they say school-aged kids, if they're pre-K, is this K through 12?
This is K through 12, so this isn't going to include any of your preschool. Okay, this is just kindergarten through 12. This is the compulsory attendance.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, and actually, first through 12, because kindergarten is not required. So I think it probably does not even include kindergarten, but I don't know that for sure. But kindergarten is not compulsory, so. You can see there, kind of where students are going in the district. And we've got some charter, we've got some private. And then anybody that would be homeschool would not show up here because they are not pulling tuition dollars. Does that make sense?
Are we about ready to shut up? So let's make a public comment that we're having some technical difficulties and the live feed is probably going to be discontinued before the official meeting is over. But just to let anybody know that's watching, all official business has been conducted for tonight. No additional business or votes will be taken. Just reports and gathering of information. There's a lot here that there could be some questions. I didn't want just that to shut off. All right.
So I'm willing to take questions. If you have questions, I can kind of, help you understand the data better. Like I said, there's a lot here. The links I provided on the bottom are actually the Excel spreadsheets that you can take a look at any district across the state and look at the same data for them as well if you were interested in that.
So is there data in here of